Hello everyone, welcome to day 13 of the holiday card series for 2024. Today I thought it'd be really fun to use the Serenity ornament dies from Mama Elephant, and I thought I would make it into a wreath. There's two little kind of like pine sprigs that I thought I could die cut multiple times and create a wreath with it. And I wanted to do more muted colors, and this Gardener's Delight pack of pattern paper, it's technically pattern paper, but it's all solids, and it's from Craft Consortium. I thought this would give me a really interesting color palette to work with. So these are some large sheets of paper that I've cut out just, a little bit off the end. I didn't take them out of the pad yet because I just needed a small portion of each sheet. And they are double-sided, so even though I've only cut out 2 pieces of paper, I'm actually going to get 4 colors. So after I kind of cut off the ends of each, then I cut them in half. And then you can see as I turn them over, then I'm going to get 4 different colors of green and kind of into like a dusty teal shade. So I thought this would make a really interesting wreath. So there are 2 pine sprig dies in the die set. So what I did was I cut out each color 4 times from each die. So I'm left with 8 sprigs of each color. And I did kind of flip them over so that, so if you've done die cutting, you know that like when it cuts the paper, it sort of rounds the edges and it gives it a little bit of a more finished look on the front of the paper that you're working with. So I went through and cut out all of those, making sure to have that nice rounded edge for all 4 colors. And then I cut out the ring. So in the die set, there's this ring, and I think you could turn it into a shaker or something like that. But I used it as a base for creating my wreath. So I started out by adding a little bit of glue kind of to the bottom of each little stem, and then placed it directly onto this die cut ring. And what I'm doing is I'm making sure all of those sprigs are the same direction going around the wreath, and I'm just overlapping them. My method to this madness was I had 4 piles, 1 for each color, and I methodically just went down the row and used each color so that I would kind of get a good mix of the colors going all the way around the wreath. And I only adhered them from the very base of each little sprig because I wanted to make sure that the wreath could be kind of fluffed up a little bit and there would be some movement to it. So I moved that all the way around, and this seemed to be about the perfect amount of these die cut sprigs. So all in all, I think I had a total of 24 different sprigs going all the way around. I had 1 left over that didn't quite fit, but everything went in beautifully. And I really love how this looked. It's very kind of airy and kind of fluffed up. I thought it was pretty. So for a background for this wreath, I didn't want it to distract too much. So I thought, why not make a plaid background? So I have this color in the top corner of my palette here. I believe it's actually a Winsor and Newton color. I cannot remember the name. It's like pottery pink or something like that. I remember seeing this color online. I saw a different artist use it, and I thought that is the most beautiful, muted, kind of brownish pink. I just thought it was so beautiful, kind of a mauve. But I thought, I want this particular color. I know you could probably mix your watercolor paints to get this color, but I thought, I'm just enamored with this color. I need it in my palette. So I bought the pink color, and it's been in my palette for ages. I think I've only used it once until today, and now I'm in love with it again. So the first thing I did was I did a very diluted wash of that pink going all the way across my 5x7 watercolor paper. And then I dried that, and then I came in with this wide flat brush, and I did some wide stripes going all the way across this watercolor panel. I'm trying to keep a very flat color with the stripes going all the way across. And once I had those painted on, I used my heat tool to dry them. before moving on to going in the other direction. So once everything was dry, I then rotated my board and I painted the long way. And I just added those same stripes. Now this is a really cute plaid, kind of a buffalo plaid by itself, but I decided to add a little bit more detail for interest. So I mixed up a more concentrated version of that color, the same paint. I've only used the same paint this entire time. And I switched to a smaller brush. I believe this is a size 2 brush. And then I did very thin little pinstripes going down the darker white stripes. And I dried that in each direction and then went back and painted on the opposite direction. So this leaves me with like this crisscross pattern. Once again, you could leave it like this if you want. I think it looks really great, but I decided to add even more details with a white gel pen. So after that was dry, I came in and added a dashed line with a white gel pen. This is a Jelly Roll number 10 pen from Sakura. I think it's Sakura is the company that puts out these pens, but it's a Jelly Roll. It's my favorite white pen right now, has been for a while, and it looks beautiful over this kind of dusty rose plaid. I think it turned out so great. So then I placed my wreath over the top just to see exactly what it would look like. And then I removed it from my hardboard, just peeled off that tape. So I do have a little bit of a white border on that plaid background. So I'm going to cut the white border off with a die. I'm using the A7 Layers dies from Waffle Flower. And I just picked the die that would allow me to preserve as much of that painting as possible. I then grabbed the Winter Banner Greetings dies from Mom Elephant. I thought this banner would fit perfectly across the center of the wreath. And there's all these really great greetings, and you actually cut out the base of the banner, the solid banner by itself, and then they have them grouped in threes for the actual words. I went back to that Gardener's Delight pack of paper because it had the perfect dark red that would match my watercolor, and I cut those out using the dark red, and then I did the base out of white. So I'm going to take the actual banner shape that's cut out of the red, and I'll be gluing it on top of the white banner shape. Makes it super easy to get a tone-on-tone die-cut greeting look with this banner. So I put some glue on the back of the one that says Happy Holidays, just some dabs of glue on the top and bottom. And I noticed that when I went to glue it down on top of the solid white banner that it didn't quite match up. So I ended up just peeling that up before the glue was dry and rotating the white banner, and then it lined up perfectly. So you just have to make sure you have it lined up just right, and then it should, the edges should match. So I glued that together and then started assembling the card a little bit. Started by putting some foam adhesive on the back of my watercolor plaid using some wide foam strips. Put that directly down onto a 5x7 card base. And then I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with the wreath. So I thought, I'm going to try creating a white bow to go on top of my wreath. So I looped around some white embroidery floss so that there would be 3 loops on each side of the bow, and then just tied another piece of string in the center. And to adhere the bow to the wreath, I put a little dab of glue on the back of the bow, and then I placed it onto the wreath. And then to hold it in place while that glue dries, I just grabbed my tweezers. So these are some tweezers that I don't even know what they're called, but like you press to open them and then they close on their own. So I was able to just pinch that bow to the wreath while that glue dried. For some berries, I'm using some pearl stickers from Honeybee. These are the true pearl color. And I'm going to set those aside for a minute, and I'll put those on after the wreath is actually on the card. So I fluffed up the bow on the wreath, and I also trimmed the tails on the bow. And then I put some glue on the back of the wreath. You remember that I glued all of my little pine sprigs to this die cut ring. So I'm just putting some glue on the back of that ring, and then I'm going to place it directly onto my card. And when I glue it down onto the card, it's going to be centered, but slightly more near the top. It's not entirely centered. It's just a little tiny bit more toward the top. I think that looks best because it makes me think of a door, that the wreath would be hanging on a door. Then I went through with my X-Acto knife. You could also use scissors or a little pokey tool or something, just something to pick up all of these pearls, and then moved them over to the wreath. And I tried to have some kind of tucked underneath some of the sprigs, some on top, but I really pressed them down onto those die cuts to make sure they were stuck down. Then put a little bit of foam adhesive on the back of the banner. I made sure to not go all the way to the edges so that I could have those overlapping the wreath. And then I placed that over the center of my wreath. You could also put it near the bottom or more near the top, but I thought the center looked pretty good. So that finishes up my card for day 13 of the holiday card series. I love how this turned out. It's so soft with those muted greens and then the muted kind of pink shades. I just absolutely loved how this card turned out. Thanks so much for watching today. I'll be back next week for day 14 of the holiday card series. I'll be live again on Monday, so come back and join me at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. We'll be creating some more holiday cards. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.